George Richards is on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline, and he covers the Panthers for FloridaHockeyNow.com. They've got all the coverage you're going to need during this exciting time, all the way through the parade on Sunday. George Richards is with us. Hello, GR.
Hey.
Well, hello.
Solana's worn me down. Solana's worn me down with the GR crap, and so now I'm just doing it too.
He can do that to you.
Yeah, just wears you down. George Richards is with us. So now that it's all over and they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups, can we begin this discussion? I said I was going to ask people smarter than me, and believe it or not, you're one of them. Does South Florida have an NHL dynasty on our hands?
Yeah, you know what? There is that argument going on, and a lot of people, want to say, you're lowering the bar, because when you think of dynasties, you think of, Edmonton back in the 80s, right, with Wayne Gretzky, or the New York Islanders won 4 straight, the Lakers, the Bulls. We're going to find out, because, listen, the Panthers, they may not win the Stanley Cup next year. They may not three-peat, trademark Pat Riley, but I mean, this team is all, most of these guys are signed. They're locked down. This is going to be a contending team, and they're probably not done. I think it's a great start to what could very well be a dynasty in the NHL. I mean, they've been to the finals 3 straight years. They're built to go deep in the playoffs, and hey, after what they just pulled off, nobody wants to play them, so their style isn't going to change, so why not?
I'm not going with G. I'm going with George. That's what I'm going to ride with. But
thank you.
Give him 2 weeks. It'll be GR.
Big GR, 2 weeks. George, were you surprised last night? Because I thought it'd be a better game. They pulled a goalie. Rhino scores. They put the goalie back in. It almost, I don't know, did they give up? Was the physical thing like we kept talking about? Did it catch up with them? I thought there would be more fight out of the Oilers last night.
Yeah, so did I. And I thought there'd be more fight was when they were at home in Game 5, and Florida did that to them. I mean, it was 2-0 going into the second, and if you're Edmonton, you're depressed because you can't beat these guys, and 2, you're like, well, it's only 2-0. We're very lucky it's only 2-0. Florida completely dominated that game from start to finish. They were lucky to be in it. You could see a little bit of that. They were wore down. That's what Florida does. They do it to everybody. That's why when we talked about in the regular season, right, we were talking about, I don't want to play X, Y, or Z. I was like, no, you can't beat the Panthers in a 7-game series. I mean, a Tuesday night in the regular season, that's one thing. But to play this team day after day after day, it just sucks the will out of you. It sucks your soul out, and that's what happened to Edmonton. They had no answer for the Panthers. Their big guns at the end of the thing were done. Florida just did whatever they wanted to do, and that game last night was not close.
George, I'm gonna go over to the NBA for a second. When you think back,
why are you calling him George? I'm doing GR because of you. You wore me down. Now you're gonna call him George?
Yeah, a little played out, the GR thing, let's be honest.
Old, tired.
Like me.
Who's doing that anymore?
Man, I didn't think I'd get that reaction out of Hawk that quickly. I said, George, your eyes lit up.
I'm like, what is this guy doing? I'm throwing him a bone here.
When I think back to the Bad Boys Pistons, late 80s, 89, 90, they win 2 titles. They kept Michael Jordan from winning his first titles. They kept Michael Jordan, the next great one in the NBA, from being able to get over the hump. And I think, it adds to the mystique of the Bad Boys Pistons. When you think back in a couple years on this Panthers run, aside from who knows what else they'll accomplish, these 2 titles specifically, will they matter more in the lore of the NHL world because they kept the next great one, the next wonder boy, Connor McDavid, from getting his first Stanley Cup?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, because if you're looking at Edmonton, we're in the prime of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid. and they're now 0 for 2 in the Stanley Cup Final, and both, yes, at the hands of the Florida Panthers. Yeah, I mean, listen, Connor McDavid's the best player in the NHL, and Florida held him to what, 1 goal in this series? He didn't do a whole lot in the series last year either, but that's what Florida does. You look at some of the great players in the NHL. Artemi Panarin last year for the New York Rangers, he had 1 goal. The Tampa Bay guys don't score against Florida. Florida shuts down all the big guys. But yeah, I definitely think that, when it comes to Connor McDavid, the NHL's been waiting for the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, not only, because that's a storied franchise, but to bring the cup back to Canada. And he hasn't been able to do it. And it's because of the Florida Panthers. Nobody else has beaten Edmonton in the final because they haven't gotten there. So yeah, that's a pretty good point that Florida has kept them from doing it and kept him from doing much of anything in them.
What, speaking of that, to piggyback Solana's question, George, did Edmonton let Connor McDavid and Draisaitl down? Because to your point, they're the most talented, or they would be called the most talented, but they don't have enough depth. Florida went out like the Marchand edition, Seth edition, like they were moving. Did Edmonton move like that? I think they let those guys down.
No, you know what? Edmonton was very active at the trade deadline and made some good moves. Listen, they lost one of their top guys. They lost their number 3 guy, Zach Hyman, to injury, but in the previous round. So that hurt them, right? You can't lose a guy like that. That'd be losing like a Bennett or a Reinhart or something like that for the Panthers. Let's also not forget that Florida had Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR, which allowed them to bring in guys with $10, $12, $15 million worth of contracts because, Seth Jones was able to come in. He, at a $7 million cap hit that Florida didn't have. Brad Marchand comes in, 2 and whatever, so I think Edmonton did everything they could. Florida was just a much, much better team, and Florida is the best team in the NHL. So I don't know that the Edmonton management let those guys down by putting the team that they did. Florida just was much, much better, and they're better than anybody. So, it's just one of those things.
George Richards is with us. And again, you can read all his coverage, FloridaHockeyNow.com. And again, you got a parade on Sunday, and you got all the postseason write-ups that he'll be doing. And so if you're craving Panthers content, and who isn't, FloridaHockeyNow.com. So I said to Crowder and Solana and Jimmy at the beginning of the show, one of 2 things stops this Panthers train, either fatigue or the loss of key players. It's one of 2 things, because I don't think you can figure them out. It's pretty straightforward as to how they play. So what is going to derail them? Who do we have to be concerned about losing during the offseason?
Well, you've got the 3 big ones, right? Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, and Brad Marchand. And, Nate Schmidt's, I guess number 4. He had a great year. He's going to get a bounce back kind of contract. I would say, I don't know. Listen, Bill Zito last night says he thinks he can keep all 3 guys. And if Bill Zito says that, I'm okay. Well, I guess he does. And Bill Zito has worked magic in the past. We don't know what the Panthers have up their sleeve when it comes to Marchand, Bennett, and Ekblad. But just looking at it without knowing all the numbers and what they are talking about behind closed doors, I would think you keep Bennett, you keep Ekblad. Marchand was kind of a luxury, a bonus that kind of came to you at the trade deadline. You keep your core guys and you move forward. Fatigue. Hey, listen, I talked to Sam Reinhart about it. He goes, they like these short off seasons because you just start working out in August and you're fresh and you're ready to go. But you saw this regular season, right? We were talking throughout it. There were question marks about the Panthers, and it was like, guys, they don't care about the regular season anymore. It stinks if you're spending $300 on a ticket to see them play the Detroit Red Wings on a Tuesday. the truth is they don't get up for it. They don't care about it anymore. They just want to finish, somewhere in the playoffs. And then when the buzzer goes off, they're ready to go. And, I don't know what's going to slow this train down. The salary cap, maybe, but it's going up. So the Panthers should be just fine. We talked about the dynasty at the very beginning of this. That's why the Panthers look like this could be sustainable and should be sustainable, because you've got all your key guys signed and the salary cap is going up and you've got your guys locked into very good numbers. This is just a masterclass in putting a team together. The Florida Panthers they're just a machine right now, and they're doing it off the ice and on the ice because they're built. Every team in the NHL wishes they had this team right now.
And quickly, George, like we heard, like Udonis Haslam took less money to stay with Miami Heat, and Dwayne Wade, Bosh, and LeBron took less money to get together. Do hockey players do that? Would somebody say, "I'll take less money to stay with this team"?
Yeah, they do actually, and they do. They have done it to stay with the Panthers. You look at Sam Reinhart earlier, last summer. He took a deal that was below market value. Sasha Barkov, when he signed that 8-year deal, he could have gotten 11 or 12 million somewhere else. I mean, he took 10. I mean, it's obviously I would have taken 10 too. I mean, I'm not great, but these guys have been taking under market value to stay together. And that's something that Bill Zito preaches, is that, guys, we're going to offer you something fair, but it's fair in the fact that we all get to stay together. That's how we make this work. There's only X amount of dollars, right, as a salary cap. How about we all get rich together and stay together and win and have a blast doing it? And they've sold that to these guys, and they have bought in. You see that camaraderie. You see it right now in Fort Lauderdale this morning at the Elbow Room. These guys love playing playing together and being teammates and being friends and all that kind of stuff. They look like little kids out there goofing around, right? And and that's a big part of it. There is something to be said about being happy and enjoying your life and sharing that with each other. And that's what the Panthers have done. And they are, giving up a couple bucks here and there to do it.
George, I am going to petition the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman, to actually move their headquarters into the Elbow Room for the foreseeable future. Would you get behind me on that movement?
Makes sense.
Yes. Gary Bettman, though, the problem is they don't have air conditioning. So Gary Bettman's going to schwitz a little bit,
I'm out now, too, because I schwitz.
Yeah. No air conditioning at the Elbow Room. And if you're, if you didn't bring your cash roll, you're in trouble there, too. So maybe they take the second floor. Maybe take the second floor and put one of those, window unit.
Window unit,
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah, right. Get a little window unit over at Sears. Get a Kenmore. And or Kmart, whichever.
Great reference.
You're ready to go.
Great reference with the Kenmore.
Zayre's, whatever.
Zaire, yeah. Mervin's. George Richard, real quickly.
They didn't sell Kenmore.
I know. They only had clothing, but still a great reference. We're so up against a break here, but real quickly, did you have the chicken cordon bleu or the meatloaf in the press room last night?
I had the Flanagan's Lunch Club. I did not eat the media meal.
Wow, you are not a media member. If you are choosing to pay for a meal rather than take the free one that the team offers you, you are not really a member of the media.
Yeah, I had the meal there, game 3, and that was my last one. So
yeah, I made a big mistake with the meatloaf. I'm not.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I made a big mistake. Good. Milk was a bad choice. All right, we'll see you, George.
A bad choice.
George Richards, FloridaHockeyNow.com is the website. You can get all your Panthers content right there.